If you ask most browser game developers why their game didn't take off, you'll usually hear things like, players just don't appreciate passion projects, or the algorithm isn't showing my game. To be honest, web platforms are one of the few places where you almost don't need traditional marketing. So why do so many heartfelt games sit at 0 plays while simple trend-chasing games get millions of plays? Is the system broken, or are those successful games tapping into something about human behavior that we usually ignore? After playing and reflecting on games across these platforms and going through the submission process myself, I started noticing a pattern. The games that get traction almost always leverage 3 behavioral triggers, the first one being cognition friction. In behavioral psychology, the time it takes for a user to understand a system determines whether they stay or leave. On the web, you have roughly 4 seconds. If a player has to read a paragraph of text or figure out why WASD isn't working, they close the tab. So how do top games bypass the brain's friction entirely? Simple, they make reading completely optional, and instead of forcing the players to sit down through long text explanations or complex menus, they design a 5-second tutorial that is interactive and already has the basics of the mechanics of the game. This brings us to trigger number 2, the variable reward loop. Why do players play a simple game for 3 hours straight? It's not because the graphics are crazy, it's because every action triggers a micro reward, a particle explosion, a satisfying click, or a bar filling up. Good game feel constantly reinforces that loop, keeping the player engaged through immediate sensory feedback. Trigger number 3, retention loops. But if simple trend-chasing games get views, shouldn't we all just build a flappy brain rot simulation? Here's the problem. When you're only chasing a trend, polishing starts to feel like a wasted time. Building a game you don't actually enjoy is incredibly difficult because you stop noticing details, you are not passionate about that project. You can absolutely build something you love that nobody wants to play, but I do think passion makes building your game a lot easier just because you enjoy what you're doing. You naturally want to keep improving it. You notice the tiny frustrations, you keep tweaking the movement, you improve the menus, you add better effects because you actually care about the experience. And ironically, that's often what creates the kind of polish players notice. So I decided to test this idea myself. Instead of asking what game is most likely to make money, I asked what kind of game would I actually come back to. Then I deliberately designed it around those 3 principles. Make it immediately understandable, make every interaction satisfying, and always give the player a reason to continue. After weeks of iterating, it was finally time. I submitted the game to CrazyGames. Phase 2, the experiment. To see if these 3 psychological triggers actually work in the wild, I couldn't just look at other people's games. I had to engineer one myself. The hypothesis was simple. Build a game entirely designed around cognition friction, variable rewards, and retention loops. Here was the blueprint. So this game is called Tap Toon Tycoon. The idea is simple. You start in the streets, you tap, you earn money, you upgrade, get better clothes. If everything goes according to plan, you make enough money to become a king, which sounds completely normal and realistic. With the blueprint ready, I became my own test subject. I wanted to document exactly what happens when a developer tries to ruthlessly apply these theories. But as my own devlog footage shows, theory is one thing, and the reality of development is another. So on my last video, I said I was going to push the game I was working on. I didn't actually publish it right away. I started working a lot more on the game. I added a lot more locations. By the time I'm recording this video, which is actually 2 weeks after I posted that video, I still haven't pushed it to CrazyGames. So in this video, I'm going to push it to CrazyGames. And as promised, I'm going to show you if they will accept it or not. In theory, engineering these psychological triggers is simple, but the subject quickly ran into a major flaw in the experiment: developer bias. You cannot test cognition friction or retention loops on yourself. You already know how the game works. This uncertainty caused the experiment to stall, but eventually a leap had to be made. The prototype was submitted to CrazyGames, and to his surprise, it was actually accepted. The experiment is officially live. Now that the game has entered a 14 basic launch window, we are about to find out if human psychology can truly be hacked to beat the algorithm. Now you may be wondering, how can you come up with a good game idea that will actually perform well? So a few of you ask me, how do I come up with game ideas? And actually I don't, they just come to me. Everything is in place, but will theory translate into actual players? While we wait for the data to validate the subject's genius? During the experiment, the subject ran into a common stigma in the browser game community: Need to enjoy the game, otherwise other people won't enjoy it. I mean, that's just common sense. But I do feel most of the people that want to make browser games or mobile games are mainly doing it for money and have no passion about their games, which is why in CrazyGames and Poke there are so many AI slubs. There is one critical variable we have to address. Now, I also got a few hate comments on my last video saying that my games were AI slop, which, I mean, I totally get where you're coming from. I wouldn't call it AI slop as I don't actually generate the games with AI completely. If you are interested, I can show you a step-by-step process of how I make my games, like using AI and the things I don't use AI for. And another thing I wanted to mention, I'm gonna be making a live stream just reviewing your games. If you're interested into that, you can go ahead and let me know in the comment section if you'd be interested. You know, I think most people think that making a game is hard, but I wouldn't say making the game is the hardest part. I would say the first part of coming up with the idea, and then I would say the marketing is the hardest part of all. I'm not saying that making a game is easy, but I'm actually saying is that marketing is actually really hard when you don't know how to do it or when you don't have the traffic to get that. So that's why I say CrazyGames and other browser gaming platforms like Poke, Minigames, Miniclips, and all these platforms actually fix that because they already have an audience. Obviously, mobile gaming has a much bigger audience, of course, but in the next phase of this experiment, we will look at the analytics to see if we successfully figured out the browser game algorithm. To see those results, make sure you are subscribed. Also, like the video if you enjoy what you see and comment your thoughts. So if you want to support this channel, I'm opening a Patreon. You can check that out in the description. And if you also want to support my Steam game, Untold Capers, you can wishlist that on Steam. That's all for this video. Thank you for watching. I'll see you guys in my next or previous video.